Welcome to Inked Up, where we dive into the fascinating world of permanent makeup. This podcast is brought to you by Highstoke, your trusted PMU growth partner, helping permanent makeup artists succeed through marketing, branding, and scaling strategies. Join us in each episode as we unravel the secrets of this ever-evolving industry and provide valuable insights to help you thrive as a PMU artist.
Today, I have a really special guest.
Hello!
Hello, Jasmine. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. Happy Sunday evening. How are you?
I know, 7 p.m. here. I forgot the clocks went back. So it's actually 7 p.m. here, not 8 p.m.
Is daylight savings right now? Is it this week?
We don't call it daylight savings. We call it just the clocks have gone back.
Okay, gotcha. No, that's so funny. Well,
yeah, literally like yesterday. So I'm all out of sync again. I feel like I recovered from Vegas and now I'm out of sync again.
yeah, absolutely. How's everything been for you? I feel like you've been on the go for the past, I don't know for how long, but it seems like you're everywhere. We just saw each other in Vegas. So how's everything been for you?
Just so busy, and I'm actually really excited just to chill out for the last bit of the year. I'm not really doing too much, still obviously working, but no massive events, and I think that'd be quite nice because yeah, it's just been so busy.
It's been nonstop. No, Jasmine, and for everyone who doesn't know, Jasmine is such an amazing person. She's a master trainer, master artist. We had the pleasure of having her on stage at PMU World. I keep on saying last year, but it's only been like 6 months ago.
It does feel like it was last year.
Yeah, it does feel like it's been quite some time. And so I know we had a live before, but really what I wanted to do today was, highlight your journey as an artist. Because I think, now heading into 2024, there's not only so many artists that are getting into the industry, but there's also a lot of artists who have been around. They're struggling quite a bit. And so I really want to dive deep into like your journey, how you got started, and really any advice that you have for new artists that are trying to break into the industry. So I'm really excited for today. So thanks for taking the time, Jasmine.
Absolute pleasure. Can't wait to get into it.
Awesome. Let's do a couple of icebreakers if we're cool with that. Okay, are you ready? What's one fun fact about you that nobody knows?
I'd say people probably don't know that I have giant sulcata tortoises as pets, and I've got about 8 of them, like the giant, massive ones.
Uh-huh.
So I've got about 8 of those, and they've all had loads of babies. I've got little tiny hatchlings, so now I've got about like 20 of these tortoises. So now I'm like a tortoise mum.
That's crazy. So who takes care of them when you're out and traveling all about?
Just family, really. Like we sort of take it in turns, but I get really attached to them.
Uh-huh.
So we're going to end up with like this massive tortoise farm.
Okay. What I want to see after this, I want to see a selfie with you, Scott, and all of them, like your little family. That's so funny. Okay. Second question: if you weren't doing PMU right now, what would you be doing with your life?
I probably would be outdoors doing something. I definitely wouldn't be in an office, that's for sure. I have to be doing stuff. So what, I've always wanted to have like an alpaca farm. Like, when like you walk alpacas and you've got like just like fields and just being outside, that's probably what I would do.
An alpaca farm.
Yeah.
So tortoises and alpacas. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
We know what we're going to get you the gifts for PMU World next year.
Yes.
You're going to have like little stuffed animals like, all around your room. Okay, awesome. So with that said, Jasmine, like let's dive deeper into like humble beginnings. Like I always like to dive deep into this because everyone's story is so different. And I feel like everyone never really expects to get into permanent makeup. I feel like it just kind of, it stumbles upon them. And so like, how did you get into the industry?
Yeah, so when I left school, I was actually supposed to do a secretary course, like a sort of like a PA course, and I'm not very good at spelling. So my mum was pushing me to do the secretary course, and I was like, I really don't want to do it. So at the last minute, I changed it to makeup, like basic makeup, like bridal, theatrical. So I went to college to do that for 2 years, loved it. And then when I finished college, I felt that it was very inconsistent. So with like basic makeup, it was more like weekends and unsociable hours, and I wanted something a bit more like a routine, like every day having, you know, work to do. So I think I was getting my nails done at a salon. I was only 18 and I saw a girl doing permanent makeup, and this was back in 2014. So it wasn't really known. It was quite, you know, I didn't know anyone that was doing it or anyone that had it. So when I saw it, I thought, oh, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I just had this gut feeling that that was my path. And I went home and I was searching all these different places to go, and there was like 3 training providers out the whole country. This was how sort of small the industry was. Just booked on a course in London, and that was literally it. As soon as I went there, I trained, and I think because I was so young and I had like no responsibilities, the academy sort of saw that, and they offered me work like part-time, doing like little refills and being like the runaround girl in the academy, and that sort of just snowballed. And then I got offered full-time, and then I was the trainer there, and it just sort of snowballed like that really. And then I was there for about 5 years, and then I went on my own 5 years in, just because I felt like I couldn't sort of progress on my own, still being under someone else. So then that's it. Ever since, I've just, you know, been on this roller coaster.
That's amazing. And so at what point did you feel like, okay, like this was something that you really wanted to pursue? I think for a lot of people, like it starts off as like a side hustle. It starts off as something like they want to just kind of dip their toes in for a little bit and see if it's really for them. So at what point were you like, okay, like this is legit, like this is something that I really want to pursue and create a real full-time business out of this?
So when I was like training and doing my course, I was actually a lifeguard. So what scared me was being a lifeguard for the rest of my life. I was like, I cannot be a lifeguard. So it just, I had to do well. You know what I mean? It just sort of made me realize like, this cannot be my life. So yeah. I just made it happen.
Gotcha. So no, that's amazing. I have a lot of friends who are like previous lifeguards too. So walk us through like the business side of it. So, you know, as you were getting trained, you were working under somebody else. Walk us through that journey when you were like, okay, like now it's time for me to get my own location. You know, how did you get your first initial clients coming in, whether it was models or full paying? Like, I think that first initial couple of months when you first get started and trying to build those business foundations is what people typically struggle with most. So can you walk us through maybe like the first couple of months of you getting this business up off the ground and running?
Yeah, so it's quite a weird transitional period because you have loads of doubts, don't you? Like when you think, you're always thinking, should I do that? Should I just stay where I am? You know, it's consistent, it's easier. But I feel like I had that feeling of I wasn't, my full potential wasn't coming out, because I felt like I was working for them 8 hours a day, and then I was going home. I only had a few hours to work on my own business, and I feel like suffering a little bit. And so while I was working there, it was a 2-hour commute either way. So it was 2 hours there, 2 hours back. So it was like, it took up all of my day. So I had the weekends to like build up my own sort of business. And obviously, because I was so young, I had like no clientele. So what I did was I was going into other salons sort of around my area that had quite a good already established clientele. And I was just doing like, I was one Saturday a month building it up through their clientele. And I did that at probably 4 or 5 different locations. So slowly it sort of, my name was getting more out there, but it took a few years, it took a good few years doing that, like pretty much working every day, to then thinking, okay, I'm ready to make the jump now. But I mean, it was scary. Like I did have a lot of doubts, thinking, you know, should I just stay where I am? But I think deep down, you know what the decision is, and you've just got to make the jump.
Absolutely. So let's dive deeper into that. I find that very fascinating. So you were saying you partnered up with about 5 different salons where you were essentially working out of those places, and that's how the clientele was coming in for you?
Yeah. Yeah. So what I would do is, I think my first one that I actually got, I just walked in there. And I asked to speak to the owner, and I just said, I want to work here, you know, doing like a room rent or a commission based situation where I offer permanent makeup to your clients. I got a lot of no's, but I got a few yeses. And it worked really well because, you know, they was getting money out of for not doing too much. Like, there was, you know, putting a few emails out to their clients and putting a few flyers up around the salon. And it did build up. Like, when it first started, I had like 1 or 2 clients a day per month, and then it built up quite quickly through there. Then obviously they tell all their friends, and it just builds up that way, really.
Amazing. What advice do you have for somebody who's looking to go down that route too? Because I think, especially here in the States, there's this, I wouldn't say there's a misconception, but everyone thinks that as soon as they get certified, they need to spend all of this money on overhead and getting their own storefront and location and whatnot. So, you know, for those who are just looking to break into the industry, or those who just got newly certified, you know, what advice do you have for them on that specific point?
I would say just don't rush it, and you've got to have a clientele before you have this massive salon and have this massive bill, because how are you going to pay for the space? You know, I only got my own space probably like 8 years. I was working for 8 years in the industry, and only the past 2 years I've had my own space. So I definitely feel like you shouldn't be looking at everyone else on social media and thinking, oh, because they've got this massive shop front, I need that. If that doesn't work for you, you know, I didn't want this massive overhead and not have the flexibility to travel, because I liked moving around in different locations. So I would say just don't rush it. Just build up your clients first, find your feet, because going into other salons, it made me realise the areas that I didn't really want to be in and the areas that I liked as well. And you get different clientele in different locations. So I feel like if you test the water a little bit, go into a few other salons, try different locations, you'll really know where you want to go and where you don't want to go.
I love that. So you've only had your salon for the past 2 years, you've said, your location. So
Yeah.
for the first 6 years, it was just grinding and hustling out of other locations until you've had the clientele momentum where you felt confident enough to actually go out and do your own thing.
Yeah, I mean, I could have probably got like a permanent location sooner, but I just enjoyed traveling around. I don't know what it is. I just love going to other places and moving around. I don't know. And then I thought, you know what, I'll get my own space. But I haven't got this massive shop front still now. I just have a nice room in a nice building. And again, because, you know, if I don't want to do any classes, I don't have to. You know, it's not having to think, oh, I have to do a class this month to pay the rent. Like, I don't have to do that. So I enjoy it more, you know?
Got it. And so besides from partnering up with other salons, Jasmine, like what other strategies did you implement to get more clients coming in? Like, I know you mentioned as a PMU role, but it was like collaborating with other artists and trainers. So can you dive deeper into how else you built such a huge clientele and following over the past couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, I've always done mine organically. Like, I've never done really any ads or any promotions. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but obviously I don't really know how to do it. So I've more organically built it up. And yeah, I love collaborating. Like, from the beginning of my career, I've always, you know, worked with other people and other salons. I think it's the best way to grow organically. But with the trainers, it's more finding people that offer things that you don't. You want to sort of work with someone that brings other things to the table, whether that be different techniques or a different demographic, different area. So then you accumulate more people, rather than collaborating with someone, you know, in the same town or offers the same thing. I feel like you've got to find someone that will complement you, like that, you know, still has the same values of you that you like and you get on with, but offer different things. And that way, when you come together and do classes or even offer treatment packages, I think you get so much more exposure.
And so, Jasmine, walk us through like what the business looks like now, because I know, you've done quite a couple of things over the past couple of years, but as of today, like maybe what are some of the things that you're working on? I know you're doing a lot of trainings and collaborations and speaking on stages, but just for the followers here, can you shed some light on what's going on now with the business?
Yeah, so with the business, it's just me doing the treatments, and I do have a PA that does all of my admin side, but it's quite a small little team. It's me, my PA, and then we've got a new project that's an online sort of subscription service for permanent makeup artists. So we've got a lot of online content that we're working on, online courses and sort of bite-sized videos that we're always working on. That's the main thing that we're working on at the moment. But yeah, in terms of the day-to-day, it's more me doing the treatments, I'll do the training, and then just working on the online tutorials and videos, really.
Amazing. I do want to talk about a little bit about the transition from when you figured out, okay, like now I really want to start training and getting passionate about that. But we do have a question about collaboration. Somebody asked, how can we collaborate with other artists? What is the approach for that, especially if you are new? It's a great question.
You've just got to ask them. It's not a trick question. You've literally got to just ask them, DM them, message them, comment on their stuff, become visible. And I wouldn't worry that you're necessarily new. I would just say approach people that are sort of on the similar sort of level or just a little bit above, rather than going for someone that's, extremely established. You've got to think of people that you can help grow together. I think that'd be really good. But just don't be shy. Just, make yourself known to them, support them, go on their page, like some stuff, comment, and just literally just message them. All they're going to say is no.
Yeah. I love that so much. Yeah. So essentially finding another, let's call it like an ancillary service or somebody that does complement whatever you're doing. You just provide value to each other's audiences. I love it. Love it. Love it. Okay. A buyer asks, how many clients do you see a week?
I don't actually know. I don't count them. I literally don't know. I'll do like 4 days a week, but I'll do probably about a 9-hour day. So however many I can fit in, because I might have like a few new ones and then a few refills and then a few smaller consultations. So it's all different every day, but I'll just fill whatever I can.
We love it. So going back to what I was saying earlier is that at what point did you transition to becoming a trainer, Jasmine? Because I feel like, especially nowadays, like here in the States, like everybody sees like training as like a quick money grab. And because I'm slow on clients, maybe I should get into training because I can make more money that way. But at what point in your career did you figure like, okay, like services are great. People are asking me if I am doing any training or education, and figuring out that you actually wanted to go down that educational route?
I think the first step is if people are asking you. I think that's the first step. Like that's probably how I got into it. Well, it was a little bit different for me because where I was working, they sort of made me train their students from it wasn't really my choice to train. It was they sort of put me on the course to train. But then if you're not involved in like a company, I'd say if people are asking you, that's the first step. You have to want to share your knowledge as well. Like there's a lot of trainers out there, like you said, that just do it for the money and not necessarily give away, what they need to for them to be successful. So if you're worried about people, using your technique and getting really good, I wouldn't recommend training. I think you've got to want to share knowledge rather than get into it for just the money, because I think people can see through that as well. Like I feel like if you're passionate about it and you share a lot of knowledge, then they'll come on other courses. Like I get so many students come on multiple trainings throughout their career because they know that I don't gatekeep anything. So I feel like you need to do it for you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So I hope that answers that question. Let's talk about like the industry as a whole. I know you've been traveling around a lot. You've been speaking on a lot of international stages. So congratulations on everything over the past couple of years. But how do you think like the industry has shifted over the past couple of years? Because from when you first started to how you built the business to what is expected compared to now, things are so different. And so, in your mind, like how has the industry shifted, especially over the past couple of years in our industry?
I definitely feel like obviously the level of people, like the amount of people that are doing it now, it's so much more than it even was like 2 years ago. There's so many small, people coming up and training and doing like these big classes. And I feel like it's a little bit harder to get known now, I think, because of the amount of people that are doing it. But there is always room for high quality artists. So I feel like if people are sort of worried about, oh, is it too saturated or should I go into it? I think there's always room for people that are good and are, passionate about their craft. But I definitely think the amount of courses there are and the regulations aren't that great. Like especially in America, I think there's some states where you don't even need like a license or anything like that. So that's a bit like the Wild West, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think what could be better is having sort of more tighter regulations and like a sort of a protocol in how to become who we are rather than anyone just training in it. But I don't know if that will happen. And I just hope that people keep up the high quality trainings rather than just sort of out all these cheap courses.
No, I totally agree. And, on the note of so many people breaking into the industry now, do you have any advice? Because I know you also train, students to get into the industry. Like, what would be your advice for people to, stand out, be unique specifically in today's day and age and, heading into 2024 here?
I would say you need to practice every day. So what I feel like happens a lot on the courses that you do, like the beginner courses especially, it looks quite easy to do. Like when you're looking at it online, oh, you just do a line, it's quite easy. It's not actually easy. So I feel like people come into it thinking, oh, it'd be really easy, I can pick it up and I'll just start doing clients straight away. But that's not realistically how it happens. You have to practice every single day. Some people don't get it straight away. Some people do. So I didn't get it straight away. I had to really work on it. And I feel like people are so impatient now. They pick a machine up and because the stroke isn't perfect, they start to get frustrated with it. But I feel like if you want to be good, you have to practice every day. Just compete with yourself as well. Don't be looking at everyone else online and thinking, oh, my work's not as good as them, blah, blah, blah. You just have to focus on every day when you do a client is trying to do the next one better than the previous one. And even now I do that now. Like I say to myself, right, I'm going to do the best slip I've ever done today. That's what I say to myself now. So I just feel like you have to step away from all of the social media and all of the shiny Photoshop. It's not real. Just got to take a step back.
I love that so much. M. Lorena is asking, what is your opinion on gatekeeping? This was from a couple of minutes ago. I feel like there's room for us to all be successful without holding information from us newbies.
I totally agree. I don't gatekeep anything. I give everything away. But unfortunately, not everyone does do that. But I feel like you can spot the trainers that do and don't. It's quite difficult, but you do find the good ones in the industry. But I totally agree. I don't hold anything back.
Love it. So, on the lines of talking about the industry and how much has changed, are there any specific industry trends you see happening in 2024, given all of like the technology, where the industry is evolving, given how, involved you are inside of the industry? Like, what are maybe some things that people should be looking towards, especially for next year? I
think it's you've got to pretty much be like a videographer and an editor nowadays. I think, especially Instagram. I feel like if you don't have a good if you're not taking good pictures, if your lighting's not good, it's like the basic stuff. But if you don't have good sort of front of your business, you're not going to get any clients. So I feel like it's you've still got to create really good work, but I feel like you have to sort of follow the trends in regards of reels. You've got to sort of learn how to do transitions and editing and stuff like that. So I do feel like that's only going to get more as well. But I definitely think removal is going to be very mainstream next year.
Gotcha. Cool. So with that said, I really want to talk more, in terms of like advice that you would have, because again, like I was saying, we have a lot of newer artists who are trying to break into the industry. There's loads of trainers who are, bringing new people, providing more opportunities. And so, what would be some of your main pieces of advice for somebody that's looking to break into this industry, specifically in 2024, given how much things are changing now?
Yeah, I just feel like maybe niching it down a little bit more. So for example, if you get into permanent makeup, rather than learn brows, lips, eyes and all of the techniques, I'd say maybe try and niche it down and sort of try and get known for one particular thing. For example, lips or dark lip neutralization, and just stick to that niche, because I do feel like it's easier to sort of become known for something, or, even if clients recommend things, to be known for one particular thing rather than just try and do everything all at once. It's really overwhelming, especially sort of, doing hair, stroke, brows, then going on to eyeliner. It's all very different. So I would say focus on one thing first, build it up that way, and then slowly introduce other things.
Okay, I think that's fantastic. I was basically going to ask you, like, how do you feel about artists who feel like they have to be like a all-in-one, one-stop shop, and right as soon as they get certified, they get 10 certifications for all of these different things, and then offering it all at once without really getting that foundation needed for like one or two specific things. So, just anything else you want to add on to that? I think that's a really good point.
I feel like it is really common, like, as artists, we do want to be good at everything, but I do feel like you are shooting yourself in the foot if you try and do everything at once. So yeah, I really think just focus on one thing at a time, and it's just better for your brain. And it's up to you if you want to. What you could potentially do is bring other people in to do different things. Like you could just do lips, and then you could, have someone else come in just to focus on eyebrows, and they could be the brow artist, you could be the lip artist, rather than just trying to do everything. So you've got high quality of everything, rather than you're trying to be average at everything.
I love that so much. So in words of Jasmine, quoting her, start off with one thing, be very good at it, and then slowly add other things and then you can upsell that to your existing clients too. Amazing. Okay, on the lines of advice, like what words of maybe advice do you have for those artists who have maybe been in the game for a while? Because we're starting to see this a lot. They've been crushing it for the past couple of years, and now things are struggling. Maybe it's because they aren't innovating. Maybe they aren't trying new things. Maybe they got comfortable. What words of advice would you have for those who have been, let's say, in the game for as long as you have, but now like their business with the economy being really weird, things are starting to really take a turn for the worse or slowing down?
Yeah, it is really difficult, but I definitely think just sit back and sort of reassess and just try to maybe pivot a little bit. So you've just got to sort of assess what's working, what's not working. If you feel like you want to just focus on a certain thing, that might be better. Just refocus your energy on that. Or sometimes what does happen is people get a little bit stagnant and they get stuck in these old techniques and they're using the same things they did 10 years ago. So maybe you need to go on a course yourself. Or what we did recently, a lot of my friends who hadn't done a lot of courses in years, we all went to a conference together, and then it sort of re-sparks your you get inspired, don't you, and motivated, and then you sort of think, actually that's what I need to focus on. So maybe it's just attending a course yourself to just sort of bring your techniques back up to scratch. And again, don't just everything, just try and focus on one thing.
Yeah, so just some continued education to see what's new out there. I see. Love it. Jasmine, what's one piece of advice you wish somebody had told you when you first started out?
I would say don't take it too personally, and it's always going to be all right, because when you first start out, especially when I was so young, clients especially where I used to work in a nice part of London, and Londoners can be quite rude. I can say that because I'm from London. So when you're first starting out and you get some sort of like clients that are quite rude, or they knock your confidence a little bit, it's never like a personal attack on you, and you can always figure it out. So even if you have like a really terrible client and they're not happy with something, you can always figure it out. So I'd say don't be so hard on yourself, and just sort of, you know, you'll get there in the end.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people get really hung up on that too, like fearing the opinion of others, especially having to put themselves like out online and on social media. And actually, like, you know, what are your thoughts on that? Like any words of encouragement for those who may be struggling with putting themselves out there, especially on socials nowadays, and what the expectations are in order to stand out?
I know it can be quite scary, like putting yourself out there, but just try and slowly start to implement it, whether that be just, you know, putting a few pictures up and a little bit of information about you in the caption, and then you can sort of do a few little videos and just sort of like slowly introducing it, rather than just going in for, like, you know, doing lives and collaborations with everyone. Just slowly start to putting your face out there, because I feel like clients do really relate to you know, a bit of personal shared content as well. So even if you're doing something that isn't work related, I do feel like I get sometimes more engagement on some little personal things. So I do feel like don't be worried about that. Clients and people do want to know what you're doing day to day. Just put a little story out and just slowly start to do it.
Yeah, I love that so much. But there's also a balance, right? Because I've also seen some PMU artists, we call this like falling off the social media track, and then you'll see like their last 50 posts and nothing has to do with permanent makeup. It's just all personal